On Saturday, I journeyed to the Chapel off Chapel Theatre in Prahran to see Carrie, the musical, a very fun, engaging play produced by Ghostlight and Moving Light Productions. Carrie, Stephen King's debut novel of a young woman coming of age amid vicious bullying, religious sheltering, and burgeoning telekinetic powers, has received numerous adaptations since the book's publication in 1974. They include the very good 1976 Brian De Palma film, a 2002 TV movie, which doubles as a failed TV pilot, the 2013 film starring Chloe Grace Moretz, which I thought was pretty good, despite sticking too close to the Brian De Palma version, and so having few ideas of its own, and even an okay 1999 sequel to the De Palma version, and which follows Carrie's half-sister Rachel. The most notorious Carrie adaptation was the original musical from the 80s. The musical was beset with script and technical problems, the budget, part of which went to hydraulic sets, was too expensive, there were poor audience turnouts, and the play was generally received as corny and overblown. The original play is remembered as one of the biggest flops in musical theatre history. But this musical, directed by Terence O'Connell and starring Emily Milledge as Carrie, was considerably smaller scale and more focused, and it was overall really good. The performances are great, but especially Emily Milledge as Carrie. She plays Carrie with remarkable measured intensity at all times, portraying her as a meek, nervous girl with anger and uncertainty boiling beneath. She ably balances Carrie's distrust of the other students with her desire to be accepted. She is deeply compelling as she gradually stands up to her domineering mother, and is even pretty terrifying when the shit hits the fan and the prom massacre begins. Milledge, an Australian music theatre veteran, Chelsea Gibb, as Margaret White, Carrie's mother, complement each other perfectly in both acting and amazing singing voices, with Gibb bringing her own powerful delivery and a truly disquieting blend of tenderness and harshness on par with Piper Laurie in the De Palma film. Journey Howlett is brilliantly despicable as the bully ringleader Chris, and Holly James, as Sue Snell, and Jack O'Reilly, as Tommy Ross, are enjoyable figures of decency amid the carnage and venom. The musical numbers are fantastic, really lively, dramatic, and making use of diverse genres, and the direction is strong. The play contains creative choreography from Lisa Minute and impressive stage effects in the major scenes, and the characters direct their song sequences to the audience while still acting within the play's own world. I like the framing device of Sue being interrogated about the events surrounding Carrie, and it's also cool how the musical uses striking, passionate song performances as soliloquy. The streamlined narrative is a faithful translation of the novel while updating certain aspects, such as slang and certain jokes, for modern audiences, and effectively addresses all of the novel's major themes, including high school bullying and cliques, authority and rebellion, zealotry, and the victim mentality of constant distrust that many targets of bullying fall into. I also like how the musical humanizes Margaret White by making Carrie's conception by marital rape and Margaret's traumatic past more prominent, and by depicting Margaret as a mother who smothers and abuses her daughter out of a corrupted sense of protectiveness. At first, I thought that Carrie the musical made a huge misstep by apparently vindicating Carrie in the climax. The climax, which you should already know by now, but just in case, spoilers, Carrie is doused in pig's blood by Chris and uses her telekinetic powers to murder the entire prom, should offer a tragic, grisly catharsis for the cruelty inflicted on Carrie, but it shouldn't prove her right about her assumption that all people are monstrous. But as I thought more about the prom scene, I realized that it doesn't, in fact, vindicate Carrie. Yes, the characters on stage, with the exception of Miss Hartigan, Mr. Stevens, and Tommy Ross, are predominantly in on Chris's plan and really laughing at Carrie, but we, the audience, are placed in the position of sympathetic prom guests aghast at what happened to Carrie and unable to curb her rage. The only major problem I have with Carrie the musical is the pacing. Overall, the play moves at a steady rate and the story is executed well, but Carrie's telekinetic abilities are virtually sidelined for most of the play. In much of the first act and the beginning of the second, we only get a couple of scenes showing Carrie's growing powers, after which they aren't brought up again for long stretches of time. When Carrie stands up to her mother and unfurls her powers, the scene is very engaging and chilling for the confidence Carrie emanates, and the death-filled climax is grimly exciting, but the powers themselves and her mastery of them lack satisfactory build-up. I'm aware that Carrie's telekinetic powers are, to an extent, a metaphor for the pent-up anger and sadness in many victims of bullying, and her powers are also a catalyst for the solid drama, but when telekinesis comes back into play in the play, it elicits a reaction, at least in me, of, Oh yeah, Carrie has telekinesis. It's like how the new Godzilla movie had barely any scenes of Godzilla's flame breath, so it would have come out of nowhere for people without foreknowledge of the franchise. That's a terrible analogy. I'm sorry. Despite the poor pacing with regard to Carrie's powers, Carrie the Musical is a highly engrossing, well-produced, superbly acted, and very fun play with wonderful musical numbers, and further reveals Emily Milledge as one of Australia's great new actresses. Carrie the Musical earns 4 stars out of 5. Thanks for watching. Cheers.